Well, let me start with the Belichick situation. Nothing has changed, going to change, except for the Hall of Fame issued a press release, a statement on media reports related to Hall of Fame's class of 2026. This is what it says on their official stationery. Pro Football Hall of Fame understands and respects the passionate reaction of many fans, media members, and enshrinement of the Hall itself in light of published reports regarding the voting results for the class of 2026. This is a reminder from the Hall, because the Hall goes on to say, each year the Hall reviews the selection process and the composition of the 50-person selection committee. If it's determined that any member or members violated the selection process bylaws, they understand action will be taken. That includes the possibility of such selectors, they would not remain a member of the committee moving forward. The selection of a new class is the most important duty the Hall of Fame oversees each year, and the integrity of that process cannot be in question. So why did the Hall of Fame put this out? Is that just for public, the public consumption of, okay, all right, there's integrity to this process, reminding the voters there's integrity to this process. Let's not give information. Who leaked the Bill Belichick information? Like, how'd that get out? Because to me, it seems simple. If Bill Belichick was told last Friday he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame, Bill probably told a couple of his friends, who probably then told a couple of their friends, and that eventually that news gets out. That would be the logic that I would apply to this. That Bill, reportedly was quoted as saying he was disappointed. Now, Seth Wickersham has written books about the Patriots, probably has a contact with Bill. Now, once again, this is just applying logic to this. Don Van Natta, very good NFL reporter, and, it doesn't take long to find somebody who knows the information and who has spoken to Bill Belichick. Now, you do have some writers, columnists, who are coming out and saying, hey, I didn't vote for Bill Belichick. Now, if I'm the Hall of Fame, I don't want to hear this now. Nothing's been made official yet. They're supposed to be waiting. So now you're telling me. For years, I would tell you who I voted for the Heisman. The Hall of Fame, or the Heisman folks said, hey, let's wait until the voting is over. And so I complied with that, because they didn't want me to say, who I did or didn't vote for. They didn't want to spoil, the ceremony. And this isn't the same as the Hall of Fame, but it is in one regard, and that is you have a vote. You're told not to, reveal your votes. Wait until the process, goes to fruition. So I complied with that. But now you have a columnist in Kansas City, a USA Today columnist, who were talking about if they did or didn't vote for Bill Belichick. Now, while I applaud you for telling me if you didn't vote for Bill and that's why, I'm okay with that. I mean, it's your vote. I'm okay. I might not like your logic, but it's your vote. And I respect whatever you say, however you came to that conclusion, you're not voting for Bill Belichick. And as I told you, somebody who votes talked to me. That was Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. We talked twice. And there were people who just assumed Bill Belichick was going in and didn't speak up on his behalf. So there's a lot to factor in here, but the Hall of Fame wants the voters to make sure that they don't reveal their votes until these people are informed. And look, and I mention this because the voters said to me, look, it's flawed with what we did. You narrow it down to 5 candidates. Now you ask the selection committee. Now we narrow it down to 3. Well, you got to get 80%. Well, if you get to 5, why don't we let 5 in? Or if you get to 5, how about the top 3 vote getters get in, and it has nothing to do with 80%? Like, have something to show for this process, and I don't know if they're going to. All we know is Bill Belichick is not getting in. Tom Brady was on a Seattle radio station, and he had this to say about the snub with his former coach.
I don't understand it. I mean, I was with them every day if he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, there's really no coach that should ever be a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is completely ridiculous because people deserve it. And he's incredible. There's no coach I'd ever want to play for. I'd rather play for. If I'm picking one coach to go out there to win a Super Bowl, give me one season, I'm taking Bill Belichick. So that's enough said. There's nothing outside of that. Again, when it comes down to votes and popularity and all that, then welcome to the world of voting. And you may as well go, try out for the Oscars or whatever and, get a big panel to tell you if you're good or not.
That's Tom Brady on Seattle Sports 710. And this logic, I don't like this logic. Well, Bill's going to get in. I want to get these other people in. If you're going to tell me that Ken Anderson's getting in and L.C. Greenwood, they're getting in, and Roger Craig's getting in, great. Then we accomplished something here. Now, it's at the expense of Bill Belichick. But you can't kind of brush off Belichick where then you have a candidate like Eli Manning, and Eli reportedly is not going to be in the Hall of Fame again this year. But the reason why Eli is going to get into the Hall of Fame, he beat Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. So you beat the best quarterback, the best coach, but the best coach is not getting in on the first ballot. It's just tricky. But there's so much attached to this because if I said, who got into the Hall of Fame last year? We move on, right? I don't know if we go, oh, of course, such and such and such. And we move on. And we'll move on after this to the next class. The guys who will get in, if it's Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, who else is getting in? But this is tricky because Belichick doesn't get in. And if he got in, now those other coaches who are waiting to go into the Hall of Fame, now they got to wait another year at least. And that's where I hate seeing that. This is supposed to be a celebratory moment for the NFL. And it's a misstep. But the voters voted. I don't like the process of it. You have every right. If you don't want to vote Bill Belichick, you think he's a cheater, and I'm going to get, my pound of flesh here. Okay. If you tell me that, there should be transparency with this. Just tell me you did or you didn't. I don't like the witch hunt, but there are people who, and I want to apologize to Bill Polian because he wasn't sure if he voted for Bill Belichick, which sounded a little suspicious coming from a former Colts front office member and a Hall of Famer. I don't know how you forget who you voted for. There's only 5 candidates there.
Well, it was a while ago, to be fair.
Yeah, well. And if he voted for Bill, then I apologize because I thought he would be one of the 11 in there because these grudges, they don't die. But it's day 3. I thought Belichick's had a pretty good week. All things considered, he's kind of unified everybody. And all of a sudden, he becomes a sympathetic figure. I told you that, one of the voters told me there was a sense, is Bill going to come back and coach again? Can we vote somebody in who's coming back to coach again? I mean, you just can't view it that way. Man, he might come back. He's not coming back to the NFL. Okay? And then, I don't know if it was by coincidence or not, but then there was an article talking about Bill's not going to be able to get back into the NFL. He's too toxic. So it just comes out now that he's too toxic. This should have nothing to do with North Carolina. This should have nothing to do with his girlfriend. This should have nothing to do with his record at North Carolina. This is about Belichick and what he did. I want to know if somebody says, I just didn't like him. He was mean to me. If that's your reason, then tell me. Tell us. Now, nobody's going to say that. Man, he hurt my feelings. Man, if that's the case, I got my feelings hurt a few times by Bob Knight and Don Shula and Bill Parcells and Pat Riley. They're still Hall of Famers to me. Yes, Marvin.
Bill Belichick should get in the Hall of Fame. He's the coach. He's 1-1 as the Browns head coach in the playoffs. He's got that should get you in, period.
Yeah. 500 record, huh? Okay. Thank you, Marvin. Yes, Todd.
It's hard to quantify, but what is the exact level of backlash that would cause the Hall of Fame to have to put out a statement or writers to have to explain their point, yes or no? Like, I'd love to know behind closed doors, what was the moment? Did who or what happened where we got to put out a statement or I got to let people know and write a column that I did or didn't pick Belichick and why?
It just happened. That's why they had to put out a statement.
But
Somebody
the
leaked
specific
this.
conversations, but why did the Hall of Fame? What made them decide we got to put out a press release?
Because Bill Belichick didn't get in on the first ballot, and now there are, people behind the scenes talking about this. This got revealed. This got leaked. Now all of a sudden, people are writing columns. Now all of a sudden, who did and didn't vote for Belichick. So this doesn't happen with the Hall of Fame. When's the last time you went, man, there's a leak in the Hall of Fame? But you have one now, and the Pro Football Hall of Fame wants to stop this because, hey, the integrity of the Hall of Fame. And really, you got to look at the families involved in it. There's so many people. It's not just one person. It's a family. It's teammates, front office. I mean, so many people can be attached to one candidate. And that's where you have to be fair to everybody here. Yeah, Paulie.
When I saw the press release by the Hall of Fame, it made me wonder if this story is not over. And that was the Hall of Fame saying, we're on to something here. And this is step one of the cleanup.
I have a text into somebody I trust with the Hall of Fame, and I'm trying to find out. I know the system is flawed the last 2 years, and they were going to change it before this year. From what I'm told, more than likely it's going to change. Now, I don't know what that means because I was told that Wednesday morning. Is it going to change where we get 5 candidates? Is there going to be one coaching candidate? And then there's going to be a contributor, and then there's going to be 3 players. How about we just have 5 people go in that a coach is going to go in? You're going to have your contributor, and then you're going to have 3 players who retired a long, long time ago. That's how it should be. Celebrate this. And they're not going to. That's the sad part of it. Yes, Eaton.
And there's something that really cracks me up about the NFL, in that is there any sport that is more unsure of what it's doing day to day than the voting process in the Hall of Fame keeps changing because you can't figure out, we got this backlog, so now we only let in 5 people, then we got to vote this way. No, we got to change it to do that way. That's just to figure out who they're honoring in the Hall of Fame. That's not even getting into what is a catch and why can you do this, but you can't do that. This year we're focusing on holding. Next year we're going to focus on pass interference.
And they still prosper.
And they do. Is that this like odd chaos sort of part of the success where you never really know what it's going to be that year?
What would we be talking about this week? Probably the matchup here. Maybe LeBron going back to Cleveland for the final time. Giannis being traded. The NFL is in the news. That's why when we were talking about college football and what's going on, Big Ten, SEC, college football loved that. They got attention. We were talking about college football instead of them being buried with the NFL playoffs. I don't know if the NFL now, we've talked about this before. Any publicity is good publicity. I've never subscribed to that. This is not a good week, I think, for the NFL. But you're talking about the process. You're bringing back candidates. Nobody's talking about L.C. Greenwood or Kenny Anderson or Roger Craig if you don't have this. But because of this, now all of a sudden somebody goes, was Kenny Anderson good? Who's L.C. Greenwood?
Well, that's funny because nobody really is talking about them. They're just talking about Bill Belichick and like, why? Who did they let in instead of Bill Belichick? These guys?
Yeah.
What'd they let these guys in for?
I'm trying to fight the good fight for Kenny Anderson to get in, or L.C. Greenwood or Roger Craig. Yeah, Paulie.
I don't know if the Hall of Fame and the NFL had the worst week. I think the NFL media and the people that the NFL media had the rough week. They think it's a bunch of old guy reporters that are upset with Bill Belichick with how they treated him. That's how the casual person thinks.
Once again, if you say, I didn't vote for him because he's a cheater, okay. Is Tom Brady a cheater? And are you going to hold him to the same standard? And what about Robert Kraft? And if not, then why? As long as you have logic behind this is your vote, great. I'm not voting for Kraft. I'm not voting for Brady. and not voting for Belichick. I think they cheated. If that's how you feel and you're transparent, I got no argument with it. It's your opinion. It's your vote. It's not, hey, you got to agree with everybody else. Yeah, Marvin.
Is this going away before we go to San Francisco?
No, because all the media will be in San Francisco. And then we're going to bring up Seattle against New England and Malcolm Butler in the rematch. And no, it's not going to go away. Yes, Eaton.
Well, that's one of the things that I think the reason that it won't go away is because there isn't necessarily a massive hook to this Super Bowl. The rematch is cool, but nobody that was there in that first game is still here in this one, so it's not really a rematch.
I'll take a break. I'm going to talk about the storylines. Sam Darnold's going to join us on the program tomorrow.
Oh.
But and he's the first USC quarterback to play in the Super Bowl. How about that?
That's crazy. Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Paul.
Sanchez, 2 AFC title games?
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
Man, Carson Palmer
Nope.
never got there?
Nope.
That's a shame.
No.
He should have.